At exactly 9:10 p.m. on November 9th, 2025, Super Typhoon Uwan made landfall in Dinalungan, Aurora, at peak super typhoon intensity. 185 kilometers per hour sustained winds, 230 kilometers per hour gusts. Signal number 5, the Philippines' highest warning level. This is the strongest storm to hit the Philippines in 2025, and it struck just 48 hours after Typhoon Tino killed 224 people. Super Typhoon Uwan isn't just another storm. This is a catastrophic weather system that intensified from tropical storm to super typhoon in just 52 hours. A storm so massive, its diameter exceeded 1,800 kilometers, covering 2/3 of the entire Philippine archipelago. A storm that forced over 1.1 million people to evacuate. And northern Luzon bore the full force at peak intensity. Let's break down exactly what happened, why this storm was so dangerous, and what comes next. Super Typhoon Uwan, internationally known as Phung Wong, entered the Philippine area of responsibility at 10 p.m. on November 7th as a typhoon with 120 kilometers per hour winds. Within 48 hours, it would become a super typhoon. Pagasa meteorologists warned on November 8th that Uwan had the potential for much faster intensification than computer models predicted. That forecast proved devastatingly accurate. By Saturday afternoon, November 9th, winds reached 140 kilometers per hour. Overnight, the storm underwent explosive intensification. At 5 a.m. Sunday morning, winds hit 175 kilometers per hour, just below the super typhoon threshold. 3 hours later, at 8 a.m. on November 9th, Pagasa upgraded Uwan to super typhoon status with 185 kilometers per hour sustained winds and 230 kilometers per hour gusts. And here's what made this storm exceptionally dangerous. Uwan maintained peak super typhoon intensity from 8 a.m. through its 9:10 p.m. landfall. 13 plus hours at maximum strength. Most typhoons weaken as they approach land. Uwan did not. It slammed into Aurora province at full super typhoon force. The storm's central pressure dropped to 935 hectopascals. Strong to typhoon force winds extended 900 kilometers from the center. This wasn't just a powerful core, this was a massive wind field affecting provinces far from the eye. Pagasa deployed signal number 5 for the first time in 2025. This is the highest tropical cyclone warning in the Philippines, reserved for winds exceeding 185 kilometers per hour. Signal 5 means extreme threat to life and property. It means phenomenal destruction is expected. By the 8 p.m. bulletin, the final update before landfall, Uwan was positioned 125 kilometers northeast of Infanta, Quezon, and 85 kilometers east-southeast of Baler, Aurora, moving northwestward at 30 kilometers per hour, directly toward northern Luzon. At 9:10 p.m. local time, the super typhoon's eye crossed the coast at Dinalungan, Aurora. Aurora province took the direct hit at peak intensity. What made Super Typhoon Uwan unprecedented wasn't just its wind speed. It was its size. Pagasa confirmed in its 2 p.m. bulletin on November 9th that Uwan's outer circulation exceeded 1,800 kilometers in diameter. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the distance from Batanes in the far north to Jolo in the far south, the entire length of the Philippines. Weather specialist Leanne Loreto emphasized this unprecedented size meant the typhoon affected Luzon, Visayas, and parts of Mindanao simultaneously, something that almost never happens. This massive diameter meant provinces nowhere near Aurora, the landfall point, still experienced tropical storm conditions, heavy rainfall, and dangerous seas. Catanduanes, over 100 kilometers south of the landfall, experienced the full fury of the eye wall as Uwan passed directly over the province Sunday morning. Even though Uwan didn't technically make landfall there, Catanduanes endured signal number 5 conditions. Metro Manila, over 150 kilometers southwest of Aurora, was placed under signal number 3, with winds of 89 to 117 kilometers per hour expected. Eastern Visayas, hundreds of kilometers from the eye, experienced tropical storm conditions and massive storm surge. And Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. warned that even Cebu, still recovering from deadly Typhoon Tino just days earlier, could experience effects from Uwan circulation despite being far from northern Luzon. When a storm is 1,800 kilometers wide, there's no escaping its reach. Signal warnings blanketed the Philippines. Pagasa deployed a comprehensive warning system with tropical cyclone wind signals spanning all 5 levels. Signal number 5, extreme threat to life and property from winds over 185 kilometers per hour, was raised at 8 a.m. for Catanduanes, northern Camarines Norte, eastern Camarines Sur, and Polillo Islands. By the 8 p.m. bulletin, Signal 5 covered the central portion of Aurora, including San Luis, Baler, Maria Aurora, and Dipaculao. These areas face the absolute worst of Uwan's fury. Signal number 4, significant to severe threat from winds of 118 to 184 kilometers per hour, blanketed a vast swath of Luzon. The rest of Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Quirino, Southern Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Benguet, La Union, Pangasinan, Northern Quezon, Northern Rizal, parts of Bulacan and Pampanga. Signal number 3 extended to Metro Manila, most of central Luzon, the Cordillera region, most of southern Luzon including Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Marinduque, all of Albay and Sorsogon, and northwestern northern Samar. Over 30 million people fell under Signal 3 or higher warnings. Signal number 2 covered Babuyan Islands, rest of Cagayan, Mindoro provinces, Romblon, Masbate, much of Samar, eastern Samar, Biliran, and northern and central Leyte. Signal number 1 extended as far south as Bohol, northern Cebu, Negros provinces, western Visayas, and even northern Mindanao. In total, 54 provinces faced direct tropical cyclone threats from Uwan. 54 provinces. Over half the country under tropical cyclone warnings from a single storm. This is what 1,800 kilometers of storm diameter looks like. Pagasa issued dire rainfall warnings as Uwan's massive circulation drew moisture-laden air over Luzon. Intense to torrential rainfall exceeding 200 millimeters in 24 hours was forecast for 16 provinces: Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, Zambales, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Quezon, Bulacan, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, and Albay. 200 millimeters of rain in 24 hours carries extreme risk of serious flooding and rain-induced landslides that threaten lives and communities. Heavy to intense rainfall of 100 to 200 millimeters was expected across even more provinces, including Cagayan, Pangasinan, all Cordillera provinces, Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Marinduque, Masbate, Sorsogon, and parts of eastern Visayas. Metro Manila's placement in this category meant significant urban flooding was inevitable across the capital region. The most dangerous period was Sunday evening through Monday morning, overnight as the storm made landfall and crossed northern Luzon. Overnight timing complicated rescue efforts and made evacuations more urgent. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources identified 17,131 barangays nationwide at risk of flooding or landslides. 5 major dams in Luzon preemptively opened floodgates for controlled releases before peak rainfall arrived. Angat Dam discharged 445 cubic meters per second. Ipoh Dam released 354 cubic meters per second. Flooding was already documented before landfall. Baybay Boulevard in Borongan, eastern Samar, experienced flooding from storm surge and high tide. In Navotas City, a river barrier gave way, worsening floods in Barangay Bagumbayan South. Lahar flow caused flooding in Barangay Masarawag, Ginobatan, Albay, threatening communities near volcanic slopes. The Philippine National Railway's track at the boundary of Maipon and San Rafael in Guinobatan was damaged by strong water current, and this was before the storm even made landfall. Life-threatening storm surge was a major concern across the Philippines' extensive coastlines. Pagasa warned that storm surge heights exceeding 3 meters were expected within 48 hours across 41 provinces. 3 meters of storm surge is enough to inundate entire coastal communities. It arrives quickly, without warning, and can sweep away everything in its path. The high-risk areas included the entire Ilocos region, all of Cagayan Valley, central Luzon, Metro Manila, Calabarzon, the entire Bicol region, northern Samar, eastern Samar, parts of western Visayas, Negros provinces, and even areas in northern Mindanao. But the most terrifying aspect was the wave heights. Pagas's 2 p.m. bulletin warned of phenomenal seas reaching up to 14 meters along the seaboards of Isabela, Aurora, Camarines Norte, and northern and eastern Polillo Islands. 14 meters. That's a 4-story building. Waves the height of apartment buildings crashing into the coast. Waves of up to 12 meters were forecast for Camarines Sur and Catanduanes. These enormous waves made all sea travel extremely risky. The Philippine Coast Guard prohibited vessels from venturing out. More than 6,600 commuters and cargo workers were stranded at 109 seaports nationwide. Storm surge and severe flooding struck multiple barangays in Virac, Catanduanes, including Barangay Gogon, San Isidro, and along Imelda Boulevard. The municipalities of Pandan and Gigmoto in Catanduanes also experienced significant flooding. 6 barangays in Tacloban City reported knee-deep to waist-deep flooding, forcing 3,912 people to evacuation centers. The combination of torrential rainfall, storm surge, and phenomenal waves created a deadly triple threat for coastal communities. The Philippine government conducted massive preemptive evacuations as Uwan approached. As of 1 p.m. on November 9th, 1,179,086 people, 270,622 families, had been evacuated across 12 regions. Over 1.1 million people moved to safety before the storm struck. The Bicol region bore the heaviest evacuation burden, with over 660,000 individuals evacuated, the largest regional total. Albay Province alone evacuated 50,000 families. Eastern Visayas evacuated over 112,000 people, led by northern Samar and southern Leyte. In Calabarzon, 74,000 to 95,000 people sought shelter. Metro Manila saw over 23,000 people evacuated in Quezon City alone. These weren't voluntary evacuations. These were forced relocations to save lives. As of 6:30 a.m. on November 10th, the Office of Civil Defense confirmed 2 deaths attributed to the typhoon. A drowning death occurred in Viga, Catanduanes, as the storm's eyewall passed over the province. In Catbalogan, Samar, a 64-year-old woman died when pinned by debris from a collapsed structure. 2 additional people were reported injured. More than 30 million people were potentially exposed to Uwan's hazards, according to the Office of Civil Defense. 2 deaths is a tragedy, but given the storm's size and intensity, the aggressive preemptive evacuations likely saved thousands of lives. Property damage reports emerged throughout the day. Houses and trees were damaged in Jose Panganaban, Camarines Norte. Multiple barangays in Catanduanes experienced severe flooding and structural damage. Communication lines across Catanduanes were severely damaged. But the full scope of destruction won't be known until daylight and communications are restored. The electrical grid sustained heavy damage as Uwan's winds toppled transmission infrastructure. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines reported 14 transmission lines inoperable by evening. The Bicol region experienced cascading power failures.
The Naga-Lagonoy line failed at 4:13 a.m., Naga-Libmanan at 6:46 a.m., Naga-Tinambak at 6:01 a.m., Naga-Iriga at 8:27 a.m. These failures left hundreds of thousands without power across Bicol provinces. Eastern Visayas also went dark. Tacloban City lost power by 4 a.m., along with the towns of Palo, Bato, and Babatgon in Leyte. Parts of northern Samar experienced blackouts. Power outages complicate communication and response efforts. Evacuees in dark shelters, hospitals running on backup generators, cell towers offline. No way to call for help or receive updates. This is the reality of super typhoon impact, not just during the storm, but for days or weeks afterward. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. declared a state of emergency given the compound crisis of recovering from Typhoon Tino while preparing for Uwan. Government work was suspended on Monday, November 10th, across 9 regions: Metro Manila, Cordillera, Ilocos, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol, and Eastern Visayas.
Classes at all levels were suspended November 10th through 11th in 12 regions, affecting millions of students. The Department of Social Welfare and Development prepositioned over 2 million family food packs nationwide, 200,000 for Central Luzon, 148,000 for Cagayan Valley, nearly 100,000 for Ilocos region, 200,000 boxes for Bicol. The Armed Forces of the Philippines augmented Northern Luzon Command with additional personnel. The Philippine National Police deployed 10,750 officers for disaster aid and rescue operations. The Department of Public Works and Highways placed 9,405 personnel and 1,603 equipment units on standby. Mobile command centers, generators, Starlink connectivity, mobile kitchens, water trucks, water treatment units deployed nationwide. Cordillera established 3,279 evacuation centers equipped with kitchens and restrooms. Transportation ground to a halt. 325 domestic flights and 61 international flights were canceled. Over 80 tourists were stranded in Batangas. More than 6,600 people stranded at seaports. This was the largest disaster response mobilization in the Philippines in 2025. And it happened just 48 hours after Typhoon Tino killed 224 people. Typhoon Tino ravaged the central Philippines from November 2nd through 6th, making 8 landfalls across Visayas and Palawan. Tino killed 224 people, the deadliest Philippine typhoon in 2025. 139 of those deaths occurred in Cebu province alone. The storm displaced over 525,000 people, damaged or destroyed 8,700 homes, delivered a month's worth of rain in a single night, caused catastrophic flooding in Cebu City, Liloan, and Talisay. Cebu declared a state of calamity, and tragically, Cebu was still recovering from a magnitude 6.9 earthquake on September 30th when Tino struck. The province experienced earthquake, then typhoon, then flooding, 3 disasters in 5 weeks. Tino exited the Philippine area of responsibility at 12:30 a.m. on November 6th. Uwan entered at 10 p.m. on November 7th, a gap of less than 48 hours. Response agencies scrambling to provide relief for Tino's 224 victims had to immediately shift to preparation mode for an even stronger storm. Recovery efforts from Tino were suspended to prepare for Uwan's arrival. While Tino was classified as a typhoon with peak winds of 155 kilometers per hour, raising signal number 4, Uwan surpassed it as a super typhoon with 185 kilometers per hour sustained winds, 230 kilometers per hour gusts, and signal number 5, a full category stronger. Tino hit central Philippines, Visayas, with landfalls in southern Leyte, Cebu, Negros, Guimaras, Iloilo, and 3 times in Palawan. Uwan targeted northern Philippines, Luzon, with its single landfall in Aurora. But here's what Defense Secretary Teodoro warned. Uwan's 1,800-kilometer diameter meant even Cebu, still counting bodies from Tino, could experience effects from Uwan's massive circulation. The evacuation numbers reflected lessons learned from Tino's tragedy. Tino prompted 400,000 evacuations. Uwan triggered 1.1 million evacuations, nearly 3 times as many, because the Philippines learned from Tino that hesitation kills. The relentless 2025 disaster cycle. This back-to-back assault occurred in a year of relentless disasters for the Philippines. September 30th, magnitude 6.9 earthquake strikes Cebu, 79 dead. Late September, Super Typhoon Ragasa kills 10-plus people. Late September and early October, Typhoons Bualoy and Matmo strike. October through November, Canlaon volcano erupts in Negros with ongoing activity. November 2nd through 6th, Typhoon Tino kills 224 people. November 9th, Super Typhoon Uwan makes landfall at peak super typhoon intensity. Uwan was the 21st tropical cyclone to enter the Philippine area of responsibility in 2025, the 2nd of November alone. The World Food Program noted the Philippines has been ranked as the most disaster-prone country in the world for the past 3 years. 2025 exemplifies this grim reality. Each disaster compounds the next. Communities can't recover before the next event strikes. Emergency response systems are overwhelmed. Relief supplies run out. Evacuees return home only to evacuate again days later. This is resilience fatigue. This is the cascading disaster reality facing the Philippines. And climate change is making it worse. Warmer ocean temperatures provide more energy for storms. The Pacific waters east of the Philippines are consistently above the temperatures needed for typhoon formation and rapid intensification. Scientists have documented that tropical cyclones are intensifying faster than they did decades ago. A storm can go from moderate to super typhoon in hours, exactly what Uwan demonstrated. And the rapid succession, multiple storms within days or weeks, is becoming more common. For the Philippines, 20 typhoons per year has always been normal. But the intensity, the rapid succession, and the inability to recover between events is the new reality. The Philippines contributes less than 0.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But Filipino families are evacuating 3, 4, 5 times in a single season. Filipino children are missing months of school. Filipino communities are spending more time in evacuation centers than in their own homes. This is climate injustice. What comes next? As of this recording, Super Typhoon Uwan has crossed northern Luzon and is emerging over Lingayen Gulf or the West Philippine Sea, tracking toward the Taiwan Strait. The immediate priorities are search and rescue, damage assessment, and restoring power and communications. 2 confirmed deaths is the current toll. That number will likely rise as communications are restored and remote areas are reached. The full scope of flooding, structural damage, and infrastructure destruction won't be known for days. But what we do know is this. Super Typhoon Uwan was the strongest storm to hit the Philippines in 2025. It struck at peak super typhoon intensity with 185 kilometers per hour winds. Its 1,800-kilometer diameter affected 2/3 of the country simultaneously. It forced over 1.1 million people to evacuate. And it came just 48 hours after Typhoon Tino killed 224 people. The government's massive mobilization, 2 million family food packs, 10,750 police officers, comprehensive suspensions, reflected hard lessons learned from Tino's devastation. The aggressive preemptive evacuations likely saved thousands of lives. But northern Luzon will be recovering from this storm for months. And typhoon season isn't over. November and December can still bring storms. The Philippines will continue getting hit. Communities will continue evacuating. Families will continue rebuilding. Because this is the reality of living in the world's most disaster-prone country. This is the reality of the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is the reality of climate change hitting hardest those who contributed least to the problem. Super Typhoon Uwan has passed. The recovery begins now. Stay informed. Follow Pagasa for official updates. Support relief efforts through the Philippine Red Cross and verified organizations. And if you're in the Philippines, check on your neighbors. Practice bayanihan. Help each other survive and recover, because the storms keep coming. And resilience is the only option. I'm Beneath the Depths. Subscribe for continued coverage of disasters in the Philippines and the forces driving them.